Vladdy Jr.'s home run was the difference as the Blue Jays take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs north of the border. MLB Game Night, every game, every night, and we are underway.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
And we are glad to have you on board for our latest edition of MLB Game Night. He is Lindsey Crosby, host of the Locked On Braves postcast. You can follow Lindsey on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at Crosby Baseball. I'm Steve Lenox, host of the Locked On Red Sox postcast. You can follow me on the X at Lenox on Baseball. Our latest MLB Game Night show is presented by Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. With that, you're going to receive 50% off on your first year. Lindsey, a couple of series getting underway on Thursday. There'll be 4-game series throughout the weekend. Mariners, a tough series loss in Charm City against the O's as they drop the finale on Thursday. The Braves do take 2 out of 3 at Citi Field from the Mets, and the Tigers needed extra innings to pick up a victory in their opener at Target Field against the Minnesota Twins. We're going to open up with the first game that got underway, Lindsey, on Thursday, and that was Chicago and Toronto, north of the border in Toronto, Cubs and Blue Jays. And Vlad Guerrero Jr. hits a home run, and that proved to be the difference in the game as the Toronto Blue Jays now the best record in the American League. We've got the losing side of this, and he's Mr. Consistency. We welcome in Sam Ober, Lock on Cubs, as he's got reaction on the Cubs dropping the finale.
Chicago Cubs have lost 17 consecutive games in which they've trailed at any time. 1-0 in the first. Same thing. 17 in a row in which they've trailed. I'm Sam Ober from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Matthew Boyd was tremendous in this game. Made one bad pitch at a really bad time to Vlad Guerrero late in the game. But the Cubs were down 2-1 with second and third, nobody out in the eighth inning after a wild pitch. Ian Happ struck out. Kyle Tucker struck out. Carson Kelly struck out. That is not only the story of the game, not only the story of the stretch, it's really the story of the last few years of Chicago Cubs baseball. Their inability to get a big hit at the big time late in the season when the team is struggling. Nobody could stop the bleeding. We thought that getting a guy like Kyle Tucker would be able to do that this year, and he is just his OPS is now under 400 in the month of August without one extra base hit. After this series with Pittsburgh, because maybe the weather will help and Pittsburgh doesn't have a great pitching staff because you're missing Skeens. If he doesn't get going soon, you have to think about sitting him down for a while. It's that bad.
That is Sam Ober, Locked on Cubs. And Lindsey, I watched this game on MLB Network, and to Sam's point, they've gone 17 straight games now. They're not in the lead, and they're not able to come back. That eighth inning, ninth inning, as Jeff Hoffman got the job done in the ninth inning, got the strikeout for the final out of the game. And that's something you pay attention to. And something I also paid attention to, Pete Crow Armstrong was not in the lineup. He was on deck to pinch hit in the eighth inning. They didn't even go to him in the ninth inning, and they had the tie and run in scoring position. Dansby Swanson ended up striking out to end the game.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. He mentioned sitting Kyle Tucker. They sat PCA today, and it didn't help. And at a certain point, like, you only have a 4-man bench, but at a certain point, you've got to shake a couple things up, do a crazy lineup, pick a couple guys out at the same time, just do something different. I remember the end of Atlanta's road trip to open the season. They were in LA for Game 7. They were 0-6 against the Dodgers for Game 7, and they put all 4 bench pieces in the lineup that day. They were like, we're just going to try something, and they were winning that game until Shohei walked them off in the ninth with the homer. So just something where they got to do something different here. And I don't know what it is. There's too much talent here. This has been too good of a team all year to keep playing like this. They got to fix it. Craig Counsell, you get the big bucks to do this. It's the biggest managerial contract in baseball. Fix it.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 2-run home run. That put the Jays up in the 7th inning, 2-1. That turned out to be the final, his 20th on the year. Both starting pitchers, Lindsey. Max Scherzer for Toronto. Boy, they could use that over the final 40-plus games of the regular season. And Matthew Boyd for Toronto and Scherzer. Boyd, terrific, as Sam Ober mentioned in his recap.
Yeah, both these guys go in 7 innings. The thing we've talked about with the Cubs, like they didn't go get starting and pitching at the deadline. They've dealt with, Tyone being hurt and things like that. Obviously, Steele's not coming back. They need outings like this. And seeing Matthew Boyd give them 7 innings, 2 earned, 5 strikeouts against a good Toronto lineup. And really, it was one mistake on the home run, which ended up being the difference in the game. This is what they need from a pitching staff perspective. Now the offense has to carry their weight.
Great storyline, and we'll see if he can provide some offense for the Cubbies going forward. Owen Casey made his big league debut from Burlington, Ontario, Canada. 0 for 4, struck out against Hoffman in the 9th inning. But nice to see a Canadian with a opposing team be able to make that debut. He had a lot of friends and family in the stands in Toronto.
Yeah, I don't know if it was intentional or not on Chicago's part to call him up for this series. Feels like it was. But that's the kind of thing that makes free agents want to sign with you. That's the kind of thing that gets you the reputation as being a good organization. When you think about things like that and you say, hey, we're going to make sure this dude gets to play in front of his hometown crowd versus calling him up for a series in Sacramento or something. So
yeah,
flowers to the Cubs for doing that.
I think we're at the point in the season we're now looking ahead, and we've been doing that over the last couple of weeks. But the Blue Jays 5 games up on the Red Sox in the AL East. They're home this weekend against the Rangers. Cubs now 8 games behind the Brewers in the NL Central. Home this weekend for 3. Then they've got 5 against Milwaukee with a doubleheader to open up that series on Monday.
That'll decide the division right there. Because
if
you can fix the offense between now and Monday, you absolutely can if you can figure it out, you can make up some ground. You can make up a lot of that deficit because every win against the team that's ahead of you counts double, right? They lose a game, you gain a game, but it doesn't work the same. If you split this series, you're out of luck. You got to do well next week.
We're going to get Lindsay into the Phillies in the next segment, and they maintain their lead over the Mets because the Phillies did lose to the Nationals, a team that DFA'd Nathaniel Lowe. We'll touch on that in segment number 2 as well. But the Mariners going to Baltimore, and you really can't drop 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, but the Orioles are just going to be one of those teams that try to really just take series and win series against teams that are in contention. They did that. They won the finale and won the series 5-3 victory for the O's in Charm City on Thursday.
And a lot of that's you're playing for pride, right? Like it's a situation. The Orioles aren't making the postseason. Most of these guys are under team control. They're coming back next year. They're playing for pride. It's not even like it's a divisional rival, like the Braves trying to ruin the Mets season. This is just the Orioles are at home and they want to represent, and they did well. And Seattle, back to some of their old problems. They had 7 runs in this entire series. And I feel like it's been so long, so many years we've talked about this pitching staff's amazing. The offense can't score. And we thought they had fixed it. The old signs came back up against that Orioles pitching staff this week.
Yeah, and the Orioles with a victory on Thursday, not only do you drop 2 of 3 on the road to Baltimore, you lose 5 of the 6 meetings during the regular season with the Orioles, and you touch on their pitching staff. I mean, we're not talking Palmer, Cuellar, McNally, and the 60s and early 70s. We're talking about a pitching staff that a lot of these guys may not be around next spring training. But the Mariners scored 13 total runs in their 6 games, and again, going 1-5 against Baltimore this season. Yeah. They may look back at that in a couple of weeks and be like, boy, we really missed out.
Yeah, like this was our opportunity to keep the momentum, keep going. And then you look at this weekend, it's 2 teams that are struggling right now. Seattle struggling offensively. The Mets are struggling on the mound. They're going to get the Sunday game. That's the Little League Classic in Williamsport. So a national window on 2 teams that are going through it right now, and one of them has to be better.
I mentioned that the Phillies dropped the opener in D.C. against the Nationals. The Mets did not take advantage as they dropped the series finale at home against the Braves. We've got the details next. This is MLB Game Night.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k properties or investments. They don't know where all their money is and can't calculate their net worth. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. You see, Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You might link all your accounts and immediately and Monarch will find a few subscriptions that you didn't even realize you were still paying for, right? Maybe the monthly trial ended and they started billing you monthly. Monarch can help you cancel those and save money every month. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB.
Phillies Nationals in our nation's capital to open up a 4-game series on Thursday night. Steve Lenox, Lindsey Crosby continuing on MLB Game Night. Nationals hold on, because the Phillies ended up leaving the tying run at third base in the top of the 9th inning. Let's hear from Ryan McClary. He's pulling a little double duty here, and you'll get a gist of that here in just a moment. But let's hear from Ryan as he recaps the 1-run victory for the Nats.
The Scrappy Nats, they might be back after all. Just because you cut loose Nathaniel Lowe today does not mean the Scrappy Nats can make an appearance late at night. I'm Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals, and the Nationals get the win 3-2. And kind of before we jump into Brad Lord and Nathaniel Lowe as well, how about that 7th inning? The Nationals load up the bases for Jose Tena, gets that 2 RBI single to make the Nationals ultimately win the game 3-2. But in that time, made it 3-2. Obviously, then the bullpen came in and shut it down. Jose Ferrer, a clean appearance. Cole Henry, his first career save. What a performance from the Washington Nationals tonight. But also, this was the day which Nathaniel Lowe was not in the lineup because he was DFA'd. Ultimately, we will talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Nationals. So you'll want to tune into that, because the Nationals, they made the right decision. And in the day they made the right decision, they get the big win against the Phillies. I'll take that.
We're going to hear a little bit more from Ryan in just a moment on what the Nationals did. The move, as we can talk about, Dylan Cruz. To me, it's not been a lost year, but this is a big 6+ weeks for Dylan Cruz, former LSU standout, big bat, and you want him to have a good 6 weeks here. Now, he doesn't have to tear the cover off the ball, but you want him feeling good going into the offseason and being ready to be a part of the starting lineup for the Nationals for 2026.
Yeah, like the biggest thing for him is he's not locked into a starting spot, right? You have James Wood, you have Dalen Lyle's been playing left. They have Robert Hassel, who's up. Jacob Young is on the roster. Like, they have a lot of options. Now, obviously, his ceiling is much higher, but all of these guys have options. And so the guy that's left out right now, you can run 4 outfielders because James Wood's in your DH spot. Josh Bell took over first base when you DFA'd Nathaniel Lowe. But next year, like, you don't know what free agency is going to bring. You don't know, is this something where they bring up another young prospect or something like that? So absolutely a scenario where he's got to have a good 6 weeks. And I feel like the struggles early and then getting hurt, this can go one of 2 ways. He could crater, he could take off. There's no middle ground. He's not going to bat 250. He's either going to bat 300 or he's going to bat 190. That's kind of how it's going to go here, right?
And the home runs will play a factor, and the strikeouts for him too, because he's a big home run guy. And again, that's a bat that you can't miss on going forward. He's got to be a big part of that lineup, 26 and beyond for the Nationals. We got the other side of this from Mark Farzetta, Locked On Phillies.
Philadelphia Phillies managed to get 10 hits in a ball game and managed just 2 runs from those 10 hits as they fall to the Washington Nationals 3-2 in game 1 of the 4-game series in D.C. Trey Turner came up with 3 of those hits, all 3 infield singles, including the Phillies' only hit with a runner in scoring position as they went 1 for 6 on the night, but the Phillies never got that big hit on the night. Jesus Luzardo started the game for the Phillies. He went 6 strong innings, allowing just 1 run. And then in the 7th inning, when he came back out, that's when things took a turn for the worst. He would load the bases, bookending a double with 2 walks, nobody out with the bases loaded. Luzardo goes out, Kerkering comes in, gets 1 out, and then surrenders a 2-run single to flip the script on the Phillies and hand them a 3-2 loss. Zach Wheeler will be on the hill for game 2 Friday night at 6:45 against Mackenzie Gore.
Ooh. It's a good pitching matchup, but I'll take the
Matchup.
Phillies, Lindsay, in Game 2 on Friday night to even up the series with Wheeler going.
If Cole Henry keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, this is multiple times now we've talked about rookie reliever Cole Henry coming into the game in a big spot and getting it done. This is Turner is up, tying runs at third base. He strikes out Turner for his first big league save. I mean, this is a couple times now they've thrown him in the fire, and he's answered every single time. So I still think Wheeler obviously has the advantage over Mackenzie Gore. Going to be a good matchup either way. Might be the best pitching matchup on Friday. I haven't looked at the entire list yet. Shout out to Cole Henry from Florence, Alabama there. But don't really just excited about this. Excited about this series. It's going to be a good one. Divisional games always just hit a little bit harder when you get to August.
Mention Ryan Locked On Nationals a little bit more now on Nathaniel Lowe being DFA'd by Washington before the game on Thursday.
Breaking news right here in the Locked On Nationals as the Washington Nationals have DFA'd first baseman Nathaniel Lowe. And as Dylan Cruz comes back from the IL, I thought that may push down one of the younger outfielders, but fortunately enough, they stuck with their guns and they DFA'd Nathaniel Lowe. And again, I'm Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals. And yes, this is a pretty surprising move, but ultimately the correct one. Kudos to Mike DeBartolo because he knows what the future is, and it's not with Nathaniel Lowe. Might as well move on. Maybe they have Josh Bell play first base for the duration of the next month and a half of the season, but ultimately, we get to watch the young guys. Dalen Lyle, James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel III, Dylan Cruz now back. This is going to be about the young guys for the next month and a half. Kudos to Mike DeBartolo. You made the correct decision.
I agree. And I think Nathaniel Lowe is picked up probably in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting paid $10.3 million, and he was getting paid
Good money
to
to get it.
Yeah, to hit 216 and strike out 27% of the time. Like, here's the thing. This is one of those fall-offs that just kind of comes almost out of nowhere. In 2022, he hit 302 with 27 homers and was a Silver Slugger. And then he was a Gold Glover the next year. And 2 years later, he's getting DFA'd by a non-contending team in August. Just, it feels like those guys that their best attribute is contact and batting average, that they just, every single one of those guys just hits a cliff and falls. Tim Anderson, it's a great example of that.
Yeah.
He went from batting title to out of the league 4 years later.
Batting titles big on social media this week with a lot of former big leaguers. Phillies lose, but they don't lose any ground on the Mets. The Mets dropping 2 out of 3 against the Braves. We're going to hear from Lindsay on that in just a moment. But the Mets have now dropped 13 of their last 15. With that, we welcome in the host of Locked On Mets, Chris Schubert, with his reaction to the latest setback for the Amazons.
It's not one thing, it's another for the New York Mets, who have now lost 13 of their last 15 games, dropping this series to the Atlanta Braves, losing 4-3. The Mets got decent starting pitching from Kodai Senga, going 5 2/3. Probably could have gotten through 6 innings to finally get somebody other than David Peterson to that mark. The Mets battled back and got the lead, although the offense didn't do a whole lot. It was the top of the lineup in particular. The 5 through 9 hitters did not collect a hit. And tonight it was the bullpen, specifically Ryan Helsley, giving up 2 runs in the 8th inning to watch the Mets lead evaporate. They then trailed 4-3, and that was it. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't get back into this one, and it's another loss for the Mets, who now hold on to a half-game lead in the National League wildcard race for that third and final spot. They're running out of time. They're running out of runway. They're running out of space. They have to figure this out. They have to turn this around. Everybody has to do their part, or else very quickly, perhaps by the end of the weekend, we will be talking about a New York Mets team that is out of the postseason.
It could be a reality in many ways. Because the Reds are right there right now. They get Hunter Green back. The Reds are right there. And I agree with Chris. It could be by the weekend where the Mets are looking at the Reds for that third NL wildcard spot.
I mean, here's the thing with the Mets. They've lost 13 of the last 15. They're just, their rotation, we talked about this a little bit, I think, last week. Their rotation is just not giving them any length whatsoever. And so the bullpen's getting overworked and overworked and overworked. And it's, I personally don't really believe in being able to quantify like clutchness and things like that. They are 0-49 when they've been losing after 8 innings. They have never once had a 9th inning comeback this season to walk it off. And watching Juan Soto and those guys for 3 games this week, I kind of saw some of that. I can't tell you how many times all of Juan Soto's production came with nobody on base. And he'd have runner on second, strikeout. Pete Alonso, ground out. Or getting thrown out at home by 3 or 4 steps. It just feels like this team is beating up on bad teams. And when they play somebody who either is fired up like Atlanta is and playing well right now, or better than them, they just can't seem to hang. And I don't know. It's going to be a frustrating October for Mets fans if they're even in the dance.
We hit on the NL East. Next, we'll hit on the AL Central. Tigers and Guardians both win. The Guardians do pick up a half a game on the Yankees in the AL wildcard race. That's next. It's MLB Game Night. All right, Lindsay, let's start off Tigers Twins. Tigers win a run in the 11th inning, sac fly from Gleyber Torres. They win the opener 4-3, their 71st win on the season. Rafael Montero, potential winning run at third, got the final out in the 10th inning. Then he comes out. I didn't realize, I was listening to Dan Dickerson, Tigers radio. I figured, Montero's been around for a long time. He's played for the Mets. He started with the Mets. He's played for the Braves, played for a lot of big league clubs. He's been a reliever for a long time. He's been great, and he's been really bad. But he worked a 1-2-3 bottom half the 11th inning with a couple of Ks. He's only 34 years old. I couldn't believe it when I heard that from Dan Dickerson. But the Tigers down early 3-0, 24th comeback win of the season. They maintain their lead over the Guardians in the AL Central.
I feel like once a week we talked about this. You've got to win the Skubal starts. He gets no decision, 3 earned runs in 7 innings. But the way that they just didn't really reinforce the pitching staff other than Montero, a bunch of kind of mediocre, well-traveled guys at the deadline. They've got to win the Skubal starts, and they were able to do that. Gleyber Torres with that sac fly. I can't think of a 1-year deal for an infielder that's aged better than Gleyber Torres to the Tigers. And it feels like he's going to make himself a bunch of money in free agency this year because that went really well.
Do you stick with Detroit because of your 1 year of success with the Tigers? I feel like it's a good marriage. You're comfortable there. You're out of New York. You're with a very good team that's going to contend not only this year, but for the next couple of years as well.
Well, here's the thing. Skubal's there for 1 more year, but if you re-up for 1 more season, you become a free agent when we could have a lockout. So do you maybe do a 2-year deal? You have to think about the age thing and all of that. Like, it feels like this is the chance to get a long-term deal before you enter what could be a different economic environment the next time you're a free agent. If I'm him, I approach Detroit. I want them to give it to me. Are they burned from giving Javi Baez one?
Yeah. And like you said, of potential for work stoppage off season next year, 26 into 27. He's one of those guys where as the music stops and the chairs are less and less, he might be without a chair because they'll try to go younger with organizations, and all of a sudden that deal might not be available if and when that work stoppage happens and then ends as well. Oh boy, you got me going down a road. Tigers have won 4 of 5 and do remain 6.5 up on the Guardians. Like you said, they win a Skubal start. Riley Green, 2-out, 2-run home run, that in the 4th inning. That came off Bailey Ober. Green, now 28 home runs, 89 runs batted in on the season. The Guardians remain 6.5 back in the division, but they're half game behind. Maybe it's Ohio and New York right now. Guardians a half game behind the Yankees for that third wild card spot in the American League. They pick up a victory against the Marlins, and with that, they take 2 out of 3 in the series from Miami at home in Cleveland. Let's hear from Justin Latta as he gives us the details. Locked on Guardians.
As a Bard once said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and I'll always take 2 out of 3. If you win the series, you keep winning enough, you'll win the war. I'm Jeff Ellis of Locked on Guardians, and let's dive into another series victory for the surging Cleveland Guardians. Let's be real honest, though. We're all feeling very nervous in this one. It starts off with a bunch of base hits and then a big error, and all of a sudden Cleveland's down 3-0. But the thing we all have to take a moment and recognize is this offense is just not the same one from earlier this year. And they came out and put on a hitting parade late. They had to twice come back. First to tie it up at 3, and then to tie it up at 4, and then to jump to 9. What a performance overall throughout, up and down the lineup. So many players stepped up. Jose Ramirez made history. Make sure to check out today's episode to find out more about that. But when you're looking overall at performance in this one, it's nice to see Stephen Kwan reach base multiple times. It's great to see Jose continue to perform. There's so many stars who stood out. But the most important thing is Cleveland's now half a game behind New York for the Wild.
Jeff, you can't
Half
tease me
game.
with saying he made history and not tell me what the history is. I'm going to find this
Yeah,
while you talk about the game.
We've got the history a little bit. Ramirez moving past Kenny Lofton. I think this is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's franchise history. He's now third with 977 career runs scored, which is a great number. And you're mentioning Kenny Lofton, a guy that you could, he's one of those guys, Hall of Famer, not Hall of Famer. You can make arguments, I think, on both sides. But, Jose Ramirez had a big night. 3 hits, RBI, 3 runs, scored 2 stolen bases, 35 on the season now. We talked about the potential for a 30-30 year a few weeks back. Had 41 stolen bases and a career-high 41 thefts last year in 2024. But as Justin mentioned at the end, half game behind the Yankees for that third wild card spot. And the offense is what it is. The pitching staff is what it is. How about Tanner Bybee? Now 500 record. 4 relievers combining for 3 1/3 scoreless. Bybee basically the same line he's giving you in recent starts. 5 2/3, 4 runs, 2 earned. But he's giving up 4 or 5 earned runs. His ERA is between 4 and 5. But the team has now won his last 7 outings, and he's 5-0 with 2 no decisions in that stint as well.
We're not quite at Milwaukee levels of how are they doing this, but shout out Tim Stebbins of MLB.com. Great stat here. They've won 5 straight series. It's the first time they've done that in a single season since 2022.
Wow.
That stretch, this offense, Bybee being 5-0 with 2 no decisions in the last 7 starts, and they've won 5 straight series. And I'm not exactly at the point yet of I don't know how they're doing it, but it feels like we're close because the offense isn't good. The bullpen lost some really prominent arms, Manuel Clase, and doesn't matter. They just keep plugging in and they keep doing it. They keep winning 3-2, 2-1, and then occasionally they put up 9 like tonight.
Yeah, I love it. Both Ohio teams right now.
Yeah,
Cincinnati and across the state, Cleveland. I mean, you're right on the tails of the 2 New York teams right now. And
do it, Cincinnati.
Do it. Yeah. Go right ahead. And Francona. I mean, there are people right now who can make the argument. Terry Francona's he's a Hall of Fame manager. Stephen Vogt, you'd maybe go 1 and 2 with those 2 guys, and Boone and Mendoza are 3 and 4 when you talked about the managers going the rest of the way.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that those veteran managers feel like they're really good at doing, is taking these teams in these close games, the teams that are flawed, kind of rallying them around a little bit and get going on a hot streak like this. Like, look at the Tigers last year. Similar situation. It feels like Tito's all over this. I'm excited for Atlanta to be in Cleveland this weekend so I can kind of see this team and figure out how the heck they're doing this.
Sometimes I scare you with this, but hear me out.
Okay.
I feel like the Reds and the Guardians both are comfortable with their flaws. The Mets and the Yankees still deny that they almost have flaws, and we know they do.
It feels like a mentality thing. I think I would say yes from the perspective of the Guardians know they're underdogs. The Reds know they're underdogs.
Yeah.
And so they are more focused on how can we get around that and win versus the Mets and the Yankees. We should be the favorites. How do we fix these flaws? And the Guardians and Reds are how do we win despite them? It's a difference in mindset. And I do think a lot of that goes back to the manager as well as the culture of the clubhouse. And you can't argue it's not a great culture right now in Cleveland or in Cincinnati because they're doing the dang thing.
Yeah. I'm giddy for what we have Friday, and we'll get to it in just a moment. But let's tell you that the Diamondbacks got 3 in the first, 2 in the second, cruised to an 8-2 victory against the Rockies in the series opener at Coors Field. Lourdes Gurriel, 3-run home run in the first inning. 15th on the year, Eduardo Rodriguez pitched well for the Diamondbacks. You wanted him pitching well throughout the entire season, but they get a quality outing from him on Thursday night at Coors Field.
First time he pitched into the 7th inning. It feels like all season. Struck out 6 hits, 1 walk. Did give up a solo homer to Kyle Farmer, but other than that, just this offense continues to be their strength. Lourdes Gurriel had the homer. Jose Herrera, Ketel Marte just keeps doing stuff. And the Rockies only had 1 at-bat with a runner in scoring position all night. and Brenton Doyle swung and missed on a changeup. Like one at bat all night, and that'll do you there. Do they hit?
All right, we got to
like
go ahead.
All right, so yeah, it's 61 and 101. Like what happens for like? Do the Rockies get there? Do the Rockies get to 101 losses?
Yes. Do they get to 120? No. Do they get to 110? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
We do have a couple minutes here. Short schedule, 7 games on the slate. We've gotten through all
Yeah.
7 of them. I'm going to give you the field. I'm taking Padres-Dodgers, best series of the weekend, and the Padres are going to go into it a game up on the Dodgers as they start play on Friday night.
Best series of the weekend. For the desperation factor, give me Seattle Mariners, Mets. But for sheer entertainment, the one I'm going to enjoy watching the most, Brewers, Reds. Brewers in Cincinnati. That's going to be a fun matchup. We don't know who Milwaukee starter is tomorrow. Nick Martinez goes for the Reds, but that's going to be a fun one. And has no impact on the postseason, but Angels Athletics isn't going to be bad. And then I think we're all sleeping on Padres Dodgers. That's going to be a slugfest. That's 3 of those games, I believe, are late. And so we'll get to watch them after our games wrap up before we do game night.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. I'm taking the Padres to take 2 out of 3. And the Dodgers are going to see what that bullpen's all about, because it is it's frightening when you get to the 5th inning. And you don't even have to have the lead for Mike Schilt. You're tied or down a run, they're running those arms out there. I saw that when they played the Red Sox last weekend, and teams are going to have nightmares. I really do. I don't think there's hyperbole there. San Diego, right now, the way it is, I think they take the division.
Every manager has to balance going for it or holding back, and they do not hold back. They go for it in every game, and it's fun to watch. As somebody who's not connected to the NL West at all, tons of fun to watch.
That is a wrap for our latest edition of MLB Game Night. We do thank you for joining us for this episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We hope you're going to come back and visit us again next time when we go live with MLB Game Night. Every game, every night.